What's going on YouTube? Taz Flash here, and in one of my previous videos, I mentioned about my mom passing away recently. Um, it's been about 3 weeks to a month or so, and I'm not doing as well inside as I am on the surface. It's been quite a struggle, and I sit here 3:30 in the morning incapable of getting to sleep because my brain is wandering and, well, racing, I should say. And, and it's all about my mom. And so, since I won't be getting any sleep tonight, because I absolutely have to be awake tomorrow, because tomorrow I will be going to a church and I will be going up to the altar with this wooden angel, and I'm gonna say my goodbyes to my mom, and I'm gonna leave this angel on the altar. And so I thought it would be healthy mentally and spiritually for me to talk about some of the things, the positive things that I'll never forget about my mom. These things that are running through my head and keeping me awake. It's closest I'm gonna get to closure because I'm completely cut off from the family. And anyone that even knows what's going on with the situation. So I'm kind of left helpless outside the box here, alone, dealing with it on my own. And the best I know how to deal with it is to talk it out. So here's some of the things I'll never forget about my mom. Starting with her cooking. That woman lived in the kitchen. And it wasn't because she didn't have other skills. The woman was skilled on so many levels. But I'll always remember her cooking. She could cook just about anything. She knew dishes from like all cultures. And I grew up with all of these different varieties of food in my life. Not just eating them, but learning how to make them myself. Um, she always taught me that it's very important for a man to learn those traits that are considered women's work, because when a man's out on his own, there ain't nobody there to do that for them. So they're either going to pay for it or do it themselves. And So she made it very important that I knew how to take care of myself, that I didn't need a woman in order to take care of those things in my life. And cooking was a big one. She always told me that there's nothing extraordinary about a woman that knows how to cook. There's not even anything extraordinary about a woman that knows how to cook really well. But you show her a man that can cook better than his wife, and pigs might just fly. Power off. And, you know, that's true. You hear a lot of guys bitching about their girls cooking, but you ask them if they could have done any better, and they might say they could, but you put them to the challenge, and they might just produce a plate of charcoal. Um, so it was made very clear to me by my mom that it's important to be able to cook and cook well as a man, because any decent, self respecting woman out there is going to be looking for that quality. Um, art. My mom was huge into art. It was no secret. Even if she wanted to keep it a secret, there was never any possibility or realm of reality where my mom would have been able to hide her artistic skills. Um, she was in her best self when she was in her arts and crafts room. We did so many arts and crafts together growing up. It's some of the fondest memories I have. Cooking in the kitchen with my mom and doing some sort of art project. Let it be spray painting a piece of furniture or making angel ornaments out of wine bottles, um, which we sold at the church fair. Um, Let it be sewing hard rawhide, Indian beading, clay work, painting, drawing, sculpting. I would have never had any interest in art if it wasn't for my mom. And being an artist has to be like 60% or more of who I am as a person. Um, my mom also seemed to have a unique look on life. Um, Everything's connected to her. Um, and no, I don't mean in a logical way. I mean spiritually. Um, Everything is connected. Even the inanimate objects around us, they all vibrate. Well, this part I'm adding in my own uh, take on it. My mom never went all scientific in her explanations. Um, but for lack of better way to put it in her words, it's like the theory that everything vibrates on a frequency. Some things vibrate higher frequency and lower frequency, but either way, everything is vibrating and jingling around us. And that makes us connected to everything, just as everything is connected to us. And that is why karma works. Karma is connected to everything, and everything is connected to it. And therefore, the universe knows who's going to get what. My mom was one of the biggest advocates in my life to teach me nonviolence. Of course, she did it because she was terrified and the things the doctors were telling her I was going to become. Um, wasn't the most stablest kid or even the easiest kid to raise. Um, Later, I discovered that was because I should have never been on psych meds. The second I took myself off of them, I'm just as normal as anyone else I've met in this world. Um, but I think somehow she knew this, even though she was terrified at the possibility of what I could become. She knew that I was only really bound to turn out to be one thing, and it all depended on how much knowledge I had into my situation and what I would be facing in my life. Um, so I don't think I would have ever found a peaceful, non-violent way of living um, if I had been raised by anyone else. Don't get me wrong, my mom could be ruthless and she could be kind of vindictive and shifty, play play family members against each other and things of that sort. Um, None of us are perfect, uh, but always stood behind her because when it was all said and done, the only person that continued to be there for me was my mom. One of my sisters tried, and I saw that my life was causing her too much grief, and I distanced myself from her. And I lost my connection with my sister for it. Um, Now none of them will have nothing to do with me, and that's fine. I don't, just like the sun don't need nobody to get up in the morning and shine. I have learned neither do I. So I don't need a bunch of people that think a false reality about who I used to be and project that onto my entire future. I don't need them. I may not be living the best life in the world, may not be rich, I may not even be renting an actual apartment or even be able to afford to. But you know what? At least I have something that most people can't claim, especially in my family. peace of mind that I'm living the freest version of me possible. Everybody else is picked to conform, to be this way or that way because the community or the family or society thinks they ought to be that. I stepped outside of that realm of conformity and decided for myself. That's what my mom always ever wanted from us, is to go opposite wind of conformity and show the world it's okay to blossom into who you really are. Now, I don't think I could think of a whole lot more on this whole topic because I'm actually kind of really starting to get a little torn up inside with my anxiety about some people in my family seeing this and retaliating. But you know what? Oh well. I loved every last one of y'all. I tried like hell to work around my disabilities and create a connection with y'all. And it didn't matter what I ever did or ever would do. Y'all would have never seen me. The only person in the family that ever truly seen me, she's gone now. Every last one of y'all did to her what y'all did to me. You gave up and you turned your back and you walked away. That's what you did. So, you want to bring your wars, you want to bring your drama, that's fine. Because at the end of the day, when it all boils down to it, I put in the effort. I put in the effort. While y'all pretended to give a shit so that you can be all high and mighty, I put in the effort. And I never abandoned my mom like y'all did. I'm the least capable to do anything to help her. And I was the one that stuck in there and at least stayed in communication with her till the very end. Well, I wouldn't say the very end. It's been a month or two since I've spoken with her before she passed. But that is a lot more than I bet anybody in the family can really say. And I know there are people in the extended family out there that were in contact with mom. I'm not talking about y'all. And I can't express that enough. I'm not, I'm not attacking anyone. But if it's going to come off as an attack, don't any of you on dad's side of the family think I'm referring to any of you. Because we may not have had a whole lot of communication and I may not know a whole lot about you guys. But you guys have never done anything vindictive towards me. And I have nothing against anyone on that side of the family. Okay? I only speaking my truth here. And I'm tired of being pushed around by this side of the family. The side of the family that caused me to completely walk away and contemplate never saying the word family ever again. Like, not even wanting to chase a family of my own anymore because of the experience in this family. Most families try to operate like a machine. Each part operates in sequence to create a motion, a continuous motion, in order to achieve a goal. It is not how my family worked. And the closer we got to functioning, the bigger it'll blow up in our face in the end. We were a machine of dysfunction. And anytime we tried to incorporate function into that machine, it would erupt in our faces. That's why we're not a family no more. And haven't been since long before I was an adult. And it's because everybody wants to be at each other's throats. My mom was always the one that was trying to get everybody to talk. That's why when I told her that I was writing a book and that I promised that I wouldn't release it until after she was no longer on this earth, because the implications behind what I'm putting into my book would bring so much drama I didn't think she deserved. But when I told her that, you know what she told me? T, I understand where you're coming from, but that's not what I want for this family. I understand if that's what you've got to do, do it. But that's never been what I wanted for this family. What I wanted for this family is for us to all patch our differences up and become a family. And that will never happen. And one of the last things she ever asked of me is if I ever saw an opportunity to patch up the family, to do it. Well, I'm sorry to say that the only way that is possible is through my book. It's through my book. No one in this family is gonna hear nothing from me. I'm just a demon spawned child that got thrown into the programs because I was unstable, and then became the demon spawned teenager that they had to fear living with. None of them took a real opportunity to get to know me. And none of them will. Because when I release my book, they're going to war against me. And I'll tell you why. Because I've learned my voice matters. And that's why I never fit into my family, because I wasn't just gonna shut up and conform and take whatever they shoved down my throat. I wasn't gonna have them tell me who in the family I can and cannot be cool with. I wanted to be cool with everybody. I wanted to love everybody. I wanted my family intact. Now, all anybody ever wanted to do was sick each other against each other, mind games, torture against each other, put blades to each other's throat, put each other up against the wall. Violence has always been how the family has gotten their way. And I'm breaking that cycle. I am asserting that this family needs to find its way. And that I know that's never going to happen. So it's going to be on me, if I ever have a family of my own, to teach my family unity. Teach my family where it didn't work for my family. Teach my family that there is way more power behind an educated mind that can articulate through the storm rather than muscle through the storm. There's a big difference. When you go around using intimidation, muscle, and scare tactics to get everybody in your family to conform to what you want, you're nothing but a piece of shit dictator. You don't like people in the family that I'm talking to? Okay, fine. You don't talk to the people that you don't like, and you talk to the people you do. And the people that do talk to them, you let them live their life. You let them find out for them damn self what those people are about. Otherwise, you're showing your true colors. You're pushing your family apart. So, I don't want to hear any of it. I didn't have the state of mind or the awareness everybody else in the family had back in those days when our family was being torn apart by itself. I didn't have the skills to step in and say, y'all just freaking stop this. I was the freaking smallest one in the bunch and constantly beat up by all my sisters. So, I didn't have the say to save my family. And no one griped when I walked away. No one. The one sister that claimed to care so damn much, our friendship would have, our brother and sisterhood would have ended 3 years earlier if I had stopped communicating with her 3 years earlier. And I'm the bad guy because I wasn't going to have her victimize mom on Facebook on my page when she doesn't even communicate with me, when mom's the only one that was. I'm supposed to feel bad because you don't have your mom? You don't have your mom because you wedged her out the freaking picture. And you tried to force me to do so too. Just like with the brother in law. You two separated, and now all of a sudden I'm forbidden to have communication with the closest thing I've ever had to an actual brother. And to make matters worse, I didn't get chewed out because I was staying in communications with him. I got chewed out because you saw him come to my aid when he saw someone bullying me on Facebook and spoke up. Oh, so I'm in the wrong because someone on my Facebook beat you to the punch to standing up for me? That's another reason why I left Florida and moved 2,000 miles away from you people. I was dependent on your protection. I was a little wussy boy. I didn't even stand up for myself verbally. All I did was come crying to my family. This person's doing this person's doing that. Stand up for me. I moved out here to find that independence, to find that gumption, to stand up for myself, and to find my own path. Any of you want to hate me for that, that's fine. None of y'all hated Frankie when he left the fucking family to go live off the fucking land and came back a completely different person. Y'all were terrified about him before he left, and when he came back, y'all were so thrilled to see how great of a person he had become. I'm not going to get that result. I came out here and did basically the same shit he did. I found my true path, and it's peace, not war. He came back more of a war horse than he left, and was cheered for it. And not one of you have the balls to come on here and talk peacefully. Any one of you try to reach out to me, I guarantee you it's going to be a message of war. How dare you put that video out? Because it's my mom too. And it's my life fucked off by y'all and how you guys treated me. You know, I can't make money. $50 I was offered to watch my friend's kid. I turned that down because y'all got it programmed in my head that I'm not kosher around kids. So now, as a freaking adult, I avoid kids like a plague because I'm terrified that my uneducated life involving kids is going to result in some sort of misconception that's going to have the wrong finger pointed at me for something. So I just stay completely away from kids. I'm terrified to have a kid of my own because I'm afraid one of my sisters might find out that I started a family and start making accusations. Just like they did when I was playing with my nephew when I was like 15 years old and infatuated by the joy he was having by playing with these little toy plastic tools. I had one dangling, swinging back and forth like a pendulum, and I was accused of masturbating myself with the kid's toy while watching the kid. That is messed up. You put permanent damage and ruined me because some doctors put me on some medication that made me a psychotic mess. You cannot deny that because since I was 18 years old, I took myself off those meds. And I haven't had a single outbreak, psychologically or otherwise, since then. So explain that. Explain to me how someone on psych meds blacks out and goes out in the backyard and kills a bunch of possums in the backyard, grows up not even 8 years later, takes himself off those psych meds, and then goes out into society peacefully and happy. No blackouts, no seizures, no hallucinations, visual or audio. You guys had it pegged wrong. All right. I made peace with who I am. And I would have never did that sitting around you guys, treating me like a monster when I wasn't. I was never the monster. And the way you guys did me, the way you guys did mom, the way you guys did dad, that was monster. That was you guys being monsters. Putting your life over everybody else's in the family, putting your happiness above everybody else in the family, while your family members lost everything and got shoved out into the freaking world to get chewed up and spit out. That is what you guys did. You don't have the right to tell me about nothing no more. Because I may not have anything you guys got, from driver's license, house, car, job, probably a fuck ton of people that'll kill for you. I don't have none of that. But I do know I have integrity. I do know that I have nonviolence. I do know that I have God on my side. I do know that karma is my ride or die because I've had nothing but bad karma done to me by people like y'all. And I have done nothing but eat it up, swallow it, and take it without retaliating for way longer than any of y'all could. Someone look at you guys wrong and you're wanting to go to war. I've had people take me to freaking war, and I've never in my adult life retaliated back on them. I've prevented war in this very town with my nonviolence. So, I love you, Mom. Every bit of who I am, I owe to you. I'll never forget you. And I will never let anyone forget how they did you. On that note, I think I need to do a spiritual routine real quick. Uh, Still don't remember what this thing is, but it smells great. And it came in a smudging kit along with this thing, this crystal, and a thing of sage. Yes, that's another thing I got from my mom was my nature and spiritual things. Like I could for until like a few years ago I could never pinpoint what was my mom because she had so many different books religiously speaking, and she did so many things that can be construed a various number of beliefs. But I think she found her own understanding of Christianity and compiled a lot of things that made sense to her and created her own spiritual practice in her life. And that's just how it comes off to me. And that's pretty much what I am doing. Um, I'm collecting all the books and reading and informing myself, educating myself. Anything from healing stones and herbs and tarot cards, and the Book of Mormon. Uh, I forget what it's called, the Jewish book, the Jewish Bible. Just not leaving any stone unturned. And I think that's a lot of what my mom did and why she had so many books on everything was when you seek spiritual wisdom above knowledge, you explore everything you can get your hands on and test it to the truth. And like, you can take that however you want it, test it to the truth. It's a phrase that I used to use quite often back when I had Christian friends. Now, I don't, I'm not quite sure I do. Quite honestly, I think I've heard enough of my current friends make fun of Christianity to pretty much say I don't have any Christian friends anymore. Um, but to me, test it to the truth. Test it by the truth is like saying, talk to your maker, ask your maker what he thinks about it, and go from there. Um, I have like a spiritual sensory thing going on. It's kind of weird to um explain, but like when I'm reading something like possibly a Bible of a different religion, um, I have a really heightened sensory system that like it's like a jerking, pulling nerve issue feel like inside, and like tugs on the heartstrings, and I have learned to consider that him talking to me, God talking to me in here, and like he's telling me mom raised me a specific way for a reason. She took extra special attention and care with her conversations with me and explaining certain things to me. She she did so in order to install certain parts of her into me. Just like my dad was a jerk just for the sake of being a jerk because he was trying to teach you whatever. Um, you hate his guts in the moment for it, but you grow up to learn that if he hadn't done that to you, you would have not have learned blank. And in the same way, my mom seemed to know I can break the cycle of this family, even if it means to walk away from the family in a way that none of y'all suckers can freaking find me again and cause me no problems anymore. Um, if I can break away and start a family of my own, I could at least break my branch of the family away from that mentality, that fear and control, and people that aren't part of the family. This is not a way to live. This is not how to treat your family. Cherish your family. Know that your family is flawed just like you. And in order to blossom into better people, we need our family ties. It's what shapes the most crucial parts of us as adults. And you have to nourish your family. If you don't nourish your family, you will lose your family. If you try and control your family like a dictator, they will learn to hate you and walk away. Use the soft touch of love over the rough touch of discipline. Discipline's important, but how you discipline is even more important. You cannot use conformity to bring up a healthy family. You can't. You have to teach them why, not just tell them no. Any kid or teenager coming up told no is going to go out there and do it to find out why no. They're going to rebel and do exactly what you tell them not to do unless you tell them why not to do it. Oh, you don't speak that way to a grown up. Why? Because when mommy and daddy were kids, if we spoke to a grown up that way, it didn't matter if that grown up knew us or was related to us. They were going to whoop our ass wherever the hell we were. Of course, that wasn't my generation. My generation, we were kind of still raised by neighbors, but nobody put their hands on at least me. They brought my ass home and told my mom and dad what the fuck I did and just let them discipline me. But in their day and age, they got their ass kicked by their neighbors or teacher or whatever, then brought home to get their ass kicked again. It's just a brutal cycle of brutality. When if you treat your kids like human beings and talk to them like human beings, then they will grow to be wiser than their predecessors at their age. When you were growing up, don't you wish you got explained why not to play around on the tracks before, oh no, you and your friends were playing around on the tracks and your best friend got hit by a train? Don't you wish their parents told them why? Oh, my kid got abducted. I told him not to talk to strangers, but I never told him the dangers in talking to strangers. So some guy came up and seemed real cool and offered him some candy, and he got in the back of that van. Why? Because I didn't tell him what could happen to them if they take that candy or they talk to that stranger. It's simple. I'm not saying that there isn't. times in parenting where spare the rod, spoil the child isn't true. There are plenty of times in my childhood I did something that me as an adult would have beat my ass. Um, so I don't blame my parents for some of the butt whoopings I got. And I got not even 80% of what my sisters got because they didn't get put into programs. I did from 8 to 17. I only got to come home on the weekends. So whatever ass whoopings I got was just on the weekends after 7 years old. That's part of why my sisters don't want to have nothing to do with me. They resent me, and I can't help that, and I can't change it. But I can change my narrative. I have changed my narrative. People come up to me on the streets and start shit with me. I don't get all hyphy and like anybody in my family would do. No, I don't jump to that response no more. I use my problem solving skills and my words and my vocabulary, and I talk the situation down and I find a solution. Doesn't always work out in my favor, but 80% of the time it's worked out just fine for me. You don't have to kick some fucking teeth in to fucking be above to be be respected. Have I found respect in my nonviolent ways? No. People don't respect that shit. People respect me less now because of my nonviolent ways than when everybody was freaking terrified that I was a demon child and I was gonna slaughter them in their sleep. At least back when I was considered to be a crazy kid, people respected me enough to not start with me, except for my sisters, who always was able to beat the shit out of me and always will be. But everybody else, no one outside the family wanted to fuck with me. No one at my school wanted to fuck with me except for the one bully that body slammed me through the table for fucking telling him to pick on someone his own size. Well, I was still half his size, but because I was talking like someone his size, he decided, well, you're my size. Bam! Through the teacher's desk. And it just scares me that this isn't something in society that's going to change. It's going to get worse. People aren't teaching their kids to be non-violent. At least I don't see it that way. Those kids I see out there in this generation are worse than my generation. Parents of my day and age when I was a kid couldn't fathom how bad children would get a whole generation later. But I guarantee you they would have drowned all their kids so that this generation didn't come out if they were smart enough. Because if I pop out a kid that is going to talk out sideways out his mouth and slap his mom in the middle of a grocery store and tell her, "You're gonna get this for me, bitch," that kid is going to die. And I'm going to prison for the rest of my life. That's how my parents' generation thought about that. You think me or one of my sisters are gonna would get caught freaking calling our mom a bitch in the middle of a grocery store and demanding something? We would have had our face through the freaking shelves, like all over the freaking place. We would have been getting our ass beat. But nowadays, screw you, mom. I want that Twinkie. Buy it for me now, bitch. Oh, you said no? Let me kick you in the shin and slap you in the face and call you some more names. And what's the mom do? Give in. Hmm. Why is my kid such a bastard? Because when he does a temper tantrum, I give him what he wants. Hmm. Maybe eventually, if I keep giving him what he wants, he might stop being a little bastard. Eh. My generation's parents knew better than that. So I admit, a non-violent way of raising your kids is only one side of it. You got your benefits on both sides. There's got to be a happy medium in there, right? I think the happy medium is always a loving attitude, even if the punishment is required to be a physical punishment. Okay? So, you think I would have hated my dad any less if after he spanked my ass, he sat me down and told me he's sorry he had to do that, but he had to, and it, one day he'll thank me for it? No. Kids aren't trying to hear that. But when they get older and they remember that, it's a it's a full on game changer when you look back at that conversation. My dad never gave me that spew. My dad said, "Oh, you did this? Okay, go grab a switch or my belt. You get your licks. The more you squirm, the more you get. Don't let me catch you doing it again, or the next spanking's gonna be worse. Go to your room." Now, sometimes it was way beyond that, like ripping me off of a ladder by the back of my hair and pummeling me on the ground for spilling a small drop of paint off of the paint can as I was climbing up the ladder. Um, You see where I'm coming from? There's extremes, and you, I'm not a parent yet. I'm just speaking from my childhood, the parents I've seen around my life doing their thing. I know parents that don't have to raise their hand at no kid. This guy, Don Marty, used to be my landscaping boss in Florida. Okay, and he was like in his later 60s, I think, and he uh he had three kids, two or three boys. We were on a job one time, and for one reason or another, they had to come with him to work. So I met his kids that one time, and he was still the most polite, respectful kids, well behaved kids I've ever seen in my life. Still, we're talking going on 8 years ago, and I still have not seen kids as well behaved as this. I've seen kids their age be terrible little monsters, but they didn't just they weren't just happy to be at work with their dad. They were attentive to their job, not like a kid is, but like a grown up. They articulated conversation back and forth. If they didn't understand, they asked to be explained. They never cursed, not one curse word out of these kids' mouth, not a talk back to anybody, not a you're not my dad, I don't have to do what you tell me to do just because you work for him. No. And I guarantee you, those kids never got beat. Never. You know how I know? Because the one time they needed to be corrected in front of me, how they were corrected shows me they were more affected by that peaceful confrontation that Don gave them than I ever was by a butt whooping. Kids that get the ass beat don't react like that to a simple talking to. Kids that get their ass beat are going to take a lot more to break down. Like me. You know what? Just because I'm an adult doesn't mean the ass kicking stopped. Because I still remain the most stubborn motherfucker in my family. Well, I'm probably the least stubborn in my family. But I wasn't always. I was most definitely one of the most stubborn. Well, it looks like I've got enough of my ranting off of my chest. I'm going to smoke a cigarette, do me a dab, and watch some TV and try and stay awake because if I go to sleep now, I'm not waking up in time to get picked up for church. So, in summary, I love you, Mom. Thank you for every quality that you've passed on to me. I will nourish those qualities above all in me because they are some of the brightest qualities I have. And I have you to thank for that. Um, I'm sorry, Mom. I will never be able to mend this family. I cannot play the peacemaker role like you did. I can't. But I will put my book out. Everything will come out. It'll all be surfaced to the light. And maybe, just maybe, some families out there that are struggling like ours did can find peace from our struggle. All three of my sisters, I loved you guys. I really did. Part of me wants to say I still do. Honestly, I'd be the monster that you guys think I am if I didn't have some love in here for you guys. But you guys have lost what real family is about. And I'm not gonna waste any more time of my life crying over y'all. Y'all chose to be out of my life. And I chose to stop fighting for y'all. If y'all wanted me in your life, you would have put up a fight to keep me in your life. I never mattered, except for when I was buying your bullshit and taking your side and doing what you wanted me to conform to do. You guys have become exactly everything you guys say you hate about mom and dad. You guys have become everything you guys claimed while we were growing up you hated about our family. And yes, when it's my turn to have a family, I will do it better. Because I have compassion, loyalty, and I care about family ties. For those that aren't part of my family, families are difficult. We hurt each other. We don't understand each other. We don't give each other the benefit of the doubt. We don't take the time to truly get to know each other. We let the world, whoever, whatever, drive a wedge between us. We let pride get in the way of staying close as a family, or even staying a family at all. Please learn from the mistakes of our family. Love each other, even when it's hard to, even though it's the last thing you want to do. Because you're going to wake up one day with no family. One of the most loneliest people you know, if not the loneliest person you know. And wonder where you went wrong. Not me. I don't wonder where I went wrong because I did absolutely right by walking away. I would never be the man I am today if I stayed around my family. And sometimes that's the case. You do you. You find your light. You find your truth. You find your freest version of you. And you live it. You don't let nobody tell you you gotta be like them to be a part of the family. That's not a family. It's a dictatorship. And it's not healthy. Sometimes you gotta fall in line for yourself before you can fall in line for everybody else. If you cannot decide for yourself what is right and wrong and who you are, then you'll just spend the rest of your life an empty programmable shell that everybody around you can just mold into whatever the hell they want you to be until they're tired of them being in your life and they walk away to leave you with nothing again. Love yourself better than that and find out who you truly are and live that truth. And the people that are actually like you and actually meant to be in your life will come into your life. So you cannot sit there and expect the right people for your life to come around when you're living someone else's truth. You're just going to have their people coming around your life. You got a friend that's all you got in the world and he's a bit thuggish and you're not, and all you do is put people in your life that are like him because you, you're afraid that he won't approve and you might lose them because you're not conforming to their people or their who they are. And you're just gonna wind up in the dust eventually, surrounded by a bunch of people that are nowhere near like you, confused on your future and where you should be or who you should be. Get out there into the world and experience it for yourself and make a decision for yourself. A definitive decision. An educated decision on yourself. If you have to, write down your entire life down into a book and analyze every second of it that you could remember. And find out when it was you became dependent on pleasing everybody, to conform every which way people want to pull you in your life. Here's a tip for y'all. When you're a kid, it's highly unlikely to keep the same people in your life that you're gonna have as an adult. Okay? Very rarely do people actually hold on to their childhood friends. There's a reason for that. Most people that you will come across in your life are only there for a spell. They're there for a specific reason in your life. And teach you what they're in your life to teach you. No one knows that they're in someone's life to teach them a lesson or to help them grow or what the reason is they are in someone's life. We just are. And we get attached to people thinking they're always going to be there. But that's not life. Life is a continuous renewing cycle. And you can repeat the same cycle over and over until you learn the lesson you were supposed to learn in that cycle before you get to move on to the next stage in your life. Remember that. You have been told your whole entire life that you cannot control your future, that things just happen. Look, I'm not debating that. I will debate the fact that you can control your narrative, which controls your future. Okay? You pull away from all the people that force you into a conformity role and live your truest self, and you have officially changed your narrative. How so? Because at that point in time, anyone around you that wasn't really your friend ain't going to be around you for much longer. Because you, in their eyes, you switched up on them. You decided that you were going to stop being like everybody else and just be you. And because of that, you're cut loose because you switched up on them. But in reality, you didn't switch up on them. You just stopped faking and started being real. You can't be upset about these people that want to walk out of your life because you're doing better. You're doing the right thing for yourself. Don't sweat it. Those people weren't going to be there in a year or two anyhow. Because they aren't really the people you're supposed to be around. They're the people that are supposed to be around your friends because you have conformed to your group's whatever. So therefore, all you're going to have around you is what they're going to have around them. So you switch up to being you, the freest, truest form of you, and those people are going to walk away. They're not going to have nothing to do with you because you have definitively decided, I'm not in this group. I'm not like this group. Why am I here? I know why I'm here. The approval of having a group. Now, how is that healthy for your life if it's not your group? You find your people when you be you. You find other people's people when you live like them. Because, like I've always said, you can't soar with the eagles when planted firmly with turkeys. If you put nothing but losers around you, then you're going to have nothing but losers. If you date nothing but people that have a history of cheating, then you're going to date nothing but people that are likely to cheat on you. No, I'm not saying once a cheater, always a cheater. Just if you have a reoccurring record, why, what would stop you from cheating on me if 15 other dudes before me got cheated on? I never understood why a dude can go out there and sleep with some dude's girlfriend, steal her, and then complain later when she cheats on him. To me, seems to me that you fuck a dude's girl and steal her, you're asking for it. That's karma. Exactly. You weren't thinking about the type of person she was, or he. You were thinking about the type of body they got. Simple. Simple mathematics. You were thinking about the lust instead of the consequences. You got burned in the end. Me too. That's why I know what I'm saying is true. 'Cause I lived it. Well, good night, y'all. I hope this video serves more purpose than my venting. Hope it helps someone out there. Till next time, this was Taz Flash with a Caduceus Monkey message. Peace, love, and unity. Peace out, y'all.